Imagine this. Deep in hostile territory, a team of U.S. Navy SEALs sends out a desperate SOS, their radios crackling with static, their voices shaking between courage and dread. But the silence that answers back is heavier than the bullets tearing past their heads. To the Americans and Brits watching this isn't just another war story. This is survival, betrayal, and redemption. If you're ready for a ride that'll make your pulse hammer like incoming fire, then stay right here. And before we begin, smash that subscribe button, because you don't want to miss stories that dig into the grit and glory of real warriors when the world turns its back on them. It began in the black of night, when the desert air was so still that even the faint scrape of sand against boot leather sounded like thunder. The SEAL team had been moving for 48 hours straight, shadows blending into shadows, hunting an insurgent convoy carrying stolen weapons that could destabilize the entire region if it slipped across the border. But when they finally set up a hasty perimeter on the edge of a ruined village, they realized they weren't hunters anymore. They were prey. The ambush came swift and silent, like knives in the dark, tracer rounds cutting across the rooftops, RPG blasts shaking ancient stone walls into dust. Commander Briggs barked into the comms, "Mayday, Mayday. This is SEAL Team Echo. Troops in contact. Request immediate support. Coordinates transmitting now." The only reply was static. Again and again they tried, switching frequencies, screaming through the chaos. But the command center was silent. To Briggs, that silence was louder than the firefight itself. It was abandonment. His men looked at him, eyes asking a question he couldn't answer. Were they cut off on purpose? As grenades rocked the compound and the night lit up in fire, Briggs made the hardest call of his life. "Hold the line. No fallback. We fight here." But far above them, on a hilltop cloaked in darkness, one man was already watching, scope steady, finger on trigger, breathing as calm as a winter storm. He wasn't supposed to be there. He wasn't supposed to exist. But his crosshairs were already locked on the first enemy machine gunner, and with a whisper of steel, the hilltop erupted. The sniper had no call sign, no backup, and no orders. He was a ghost in the war, a man who had stayed behind when everyone else pulled out. His rifle was custom, long-barreled with a suppressor that sang like death itself, and his eyes never blinked. While the SEALs below tried to regroup in the chaos, his first shot cracked the skull of the insurgent heavy gunner, dropping him like a puppet with its strings cut. The second round punched through the chest of a commander, screaming orders into a radio. Panic rippled through the ambushes, their advantage suddenly bleeding away under invisible fire. Down in the rubble, Briggs looked up, confusion cutting through the smoke. Someone was out there covering them, but who? "We've been abandoned," whispered Corporal Hayes, reloading with shaking hands. "Then why the hell are they dying faster than we are?" Briggs growled. The sniper didn't care for recognition. He cared for balance. Each pull of the trigger was justice for the betrayal he himself had once suffered. A betrayal tied to the same command center, now ignoring Echo Team's calls. He knew why they'd been silenced. He knew the truth no one else did. And in that truth lay a secret that could fracture the entire chain of command. The battle stretched into hours, and the village was a graveyard of smoke and shattered walls. The SEALs fought like wolves, but the enemy kept coming, reinforcements pouring in as if they had been tipped off. And maybe they had. Between bursts of fire, Briggs kept trying the comms, until finally one broken, fragmented voice came through. "Echo, you're on your own. No extraction. Orders from the top. Do not return." It was like ice water down every man's spine. They hadn't been forgotten. They had been written off. Someone in power wanted them erased. Rage flared in Briggs, but the sniper on the hilltop already knew this truth. He had once been part of another unit, abandoned the same way, sacrificed in silence. He had survived, but his brothers hadn't. And now he hunted those responsible, one betrayal at a time. His scope shifted from enemy fighters to a shadowy figure on the edge of the battlefield. A man in civilian clothes, watching the SEALs with binoculars, relaying every move. The sniper recognized him instantly. He wasn't just an enemy spotter, he was CIA. And the conspiracy clicked into place. The SEALs had been left as bait, expendable pawns in a much larger game. Briggs's heart thundered when the sniper's bullet took the man's head clean off. That shot wasn't just a kill, it was a message. By the time the first light of dawn cut through the blackened smoke, the battlefield looked less like a place of combat and more like a graveyard of steel and flesh. The air thick with the stench of blood, gunpowder, and betrayal. And though the SEALs still stood breathing, every man bore scars, ripped vests, cracked ribs, bullet grazes, eyes sunken from exhaustion, but still they clutched their rifles as if they were lifelines. Around them lay the evidence of their stand. Enemy fighters scattered across rooftops, alleys, and rubble. Broken bodies that spoke of a battle no outsider would ever believe. Yet despite their survival, the silence from command still thundered louder than the firefight had, reminding them that they had not been forgotten by accident, but written off deliberately, discarded as pawns in a game far bigger than themselves. And it was then, as the golden sun stretched across the ruined horizon, that the figure on the ridge finally stepped into view, the lone sniper who had rained judgment through the night, his silhouette a dark monument against the fire-stained sky, his long rifle slung with casual deadliness, his pace unhurried, his presence undeniable. And though instinct drove the SEALs to raise their weapons, Commander Briggs' voice, hoarse and heavy, cut through the tension with a single order: hold fire. Because deep down, he already knew this man was no enemy, no ghost, but something more, a survivor of the same betrayal that had almost consumed them. When Briggs demanded, "Who the hell are you?" the sniper's voice carried across the ruins with a calm that froze every man in place. "I'm the one they abandoned before you, the one who doesn't forget." And before Briggs could press for answers, the distant chop of helicopter blades filled the morning sky, black silhouettes approaching fast, their presence promising salvation to the naive, but spelling danger to the wise. And as the SEALs instinctively prepared for pickup, the sniper's cold words fell like another gunshot. "They're not here to rescue you. They're here to collect the bodies." And in that instant, the truth settled like lead in their hearts. For command had not just abandoned them, they had signed their death warrants. Yet here they stood alive only because of the ghost on the ridge. And as the helicopters descended, the SEALs made their choice not to board, not to kneel, but to carry their wounded and their dead with their own hands, to walk out of the desert as men who had faced betrayal and still endured. And though the sniper melted back into the horizon like a shadow returning to myth, every man of Echo Team knew they would forever carry the echo of his rifle in their chests, the thunder that crushed an ambush, shattered a conspiracy, and turned silence into survival.